Hey guys, Jonah here, back with another beer review, and I'm up in the man cave, kind of, and I'm back with a Love Your Pub. I'm not 100% sure about this, and I think this is the first review I've done, and I've spotted a mistake as well already. Um, but yeah, this is about breweries teaming up, I guess, for Beer 52, um, and creating beers that they can then, yeah, do as a sort of collaboration. But instead of with other breweries, with pubs. That makes sense. So, Love Your Pub. There's a big map here of the UK, obviously. And you look here, Peddler is the one we're looking at today, and it says there's a link that says it's in London, which is cool. And then when you look at the article, which is a couple of pages less, it says Peddler Market, Sheffield. Yeah, so they kind of messed it up a bit. Yeah, they say they've got other locations. This is the Sheffield one, but they've got Chesterfield, Leeds, and Wakefield as well. None of which are anywhere near London. But alas, I'm being negative. I should not be negative. It's a new year. It's pessimistic. It's gone out the window. It's going to be a good one. Right, let's take a look at this beer. So it is a Peddler and Freedom Brewery. It's their Session IPA, easy drinking. I'm not sure if that's the name of the beer, but yeah, there we go. And it's a Session IPA containing barley. Well, it should do if it's a beer. And they are brewed at Freedom, Staffordshire, which is kind of cool. Again, nowhere near London. Oh, and it is 4.1% Session IPA. It says limited edition collaboration between independent pioneers, Freedom, and Peddler Market, one of the best street food markets in the UK, which is cool. And there we go. There are both of their kind of logos. And I don't know about you, but if you know much about Freedom, Freedom are predominantly lager breweries, but I really like their dark lager, their Schwarzbier, if you like. I had it years ago, over 10 years ago. Really, really fantastic beer. I have had other of their beers, but yeah, they always do kind of light beers, if that makes sense. Even though dark lager's dark, what I mean is a kind of light flavored kind of stuff. They never do they won't ever do an imperial stout. I don't think, to my knowledge. I should have checked them out on Untapped before this, but I haven't. But there we go. Looking at the Beer 52 website, because it doesn't really say anything on the can, and whether this is true or not, I don't know. Lager malt and chit, with a C, that is, chit. And it's got the hops are Ernest and Archer, which is interesting. So they're using, for a Session IPA, they're not using any kind of traditional, well, I say traditional modern hops or malts for an IPA, which is interesting. And I'll have to look up to see what chit means. Chitty chitty bang bang? Don't know. Slightly water damage. I don't know what it is about this glass. I guess it's because this is the one that I use the most out of all my glassware. But this gets a battering, and it builds up. Obviously, I live in a hard water area, and my God, it is crazy. Wow, this looks actually kind of like a lager, to be honest. It is definitely not a hazy IPA, because you can see my handsome visage through there. Tell you what, it is darker. The colour is slightly darker than either a lager or a Session IPA, which is interesting. Some nice aromas going on there. Right, let's get a picture. Session IPA. It's been a few days since I've done a video, mainly because I've been out and about in the pub, drinking pub stuff. I've been to Two Spoons and my local, which is the Royston. Yeah, so really interesting. Nice to get out and about as well. Cool. Right, let's get in here. Wow, that's a really interesting aroma. It's fruity. Yeah, in a sort of grapefruit, lemon, lime way, but there's something else there. Another type of citrus, because there's not that many hops in here. It'd be really interesting. I don't know too much about Archer or Ernest. I've had both of them in beers before, but yeah, I don't know too much about them. They're British hops, as far as I know. Wow, it's really interesting. Definitely fruity, definitely on the citrus scale. Let's see what we get in the mouth. One unfortunate thing is, look at that. There is, I mean, it's a pale ale, obviously, a session IPA. Jesus Christ. But no head whatsoever. A little line. Be interesting to see if any lacing is produced. Has been in the fridge for a while. So, yeah, let's see what we get from this one. Cheers and beers, dear viewer. Wow. It's actually really nice and clean, partly due to the fact it's using lager malt. But I was talking more about the hops there. Really smooth. It's not overly hopped, which is unusual because it's supposed to be an IPA. I might go so far as saying this is a hopped lager, not a session IPA, because it's not hoppy enough, in my humble opinion, that is, to be part of the IPA moniker, even a session one. And I usually say, obviously, session IPA should be called pale ales, but in this case, it's so weak in hops. I'd say it's a lager or a hopped lager. That used to be a thing, not so much these days. And that fruitiness is not coming through too much. It's just generic kind of citrus, but light citrus, like I said, lemon and lime, bordering on grapefruit. Um, yeah, it's not juicy, apart from obviously you can have lemon juice, lime juice, and grapefruit juice, but that's not what I mean. It's not one of those. Again, because of the bitterness caused by the hops, a lot of beers make your mouth water, make you want more. This one is a bit, just some hops in there to give a little hint of taste. Unfortunately, it's quite hop watery. That said, if they are thinking of a beer that you could have in a plastic glass, I know, dear viewer, I know that's an oxymoron. In a plastic, shall we say, walking around a market like the Peddler's market, or even maybe a cardboard with kind of wax or however they seal cardboard in those cups, and have it in your hand and take a sip every now and then and walk around your market. You don't want a massive, well, I don't know, depends who you are, but most people would like something light that they can sip away at. Don't have to worry about the alcohol content because it's 4% essentially, 4.1, isn't it? I think. Let's double check. It was on the back end, 4.1. Yeah, there we go. It's going to focus. Oh, there we go, 4.1. So perhaps the thinking of that nice light lager or pale ale or session IPA as they've called it. They've called it a session IPA because the IPA moniker seems, or the breweries think that it sells more beers. I don't think that's true, especially if you add session at the beginning. Just a light beer, a light IPA. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, as we're working our way down the glass, and also as the beer is heating up a little bit, obviously just gone into 10-minute territory. I was going to say, oh, the flavour's coming through now, but no, it's still very watery, unfortunately. There is flavour there. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a bit too light. Like I said, it is too light to be calling an IPA of any type. Yeah, a bit watery. It's not a bad beer. If you're thinking it's a lager, if you're thinking it's a very light, they should have called it a session pale ale. That might have worked better. Um, but yeah, I think they just got the hopping wrong. The only thing that's nice, really, is the aroma's quite good, quite interesting. Kind of draws you in. That you think, oh, this is going to be good, and then yeah, a bit watery, a bit insipid. You know what I mean? Okay, that last sip was a little bit more, had a tiny bit more bitterness. There's a little bit more sweetness as well in there too. That's obviously the leftover sugars. I'm not 100% sure it's supposed to be in there. I would imagine if this is from the lager brewers, i.e. Freedom, letting it finish sweet when there's not as much bitterness from the hops is a bit of a crazy idea. You've got to balance things out really. And that's difficult to do with such light beers. Um, Balancing is the way, and usually Freedom are good at that. But yeah, I can't say I recommend this too highly. But if you get a chance to try it, if you get to the market in Leeds or one of those other places in the Midlands, say Unclejona sent you and try the Peddler and Freedom team up session IPA. I think it could be called Easy Drinking, perhaps. Doesn't really say the actual name of this beer, so yeah, interesting. And that, I believe, is the first one from this weird Love Your Pub series. I'm sure many more to be following, and there is a new beer box on its way. Hence, I've been trying to get rid of some of these beers. I've got so many beers left over from Christmas, and yeah, because of the Advent beer box, I have been heavily drinking. Um, yeah, went over 100 beers in December. Went over 1,000 beers. Alas, not 1,000 different beers, which is kind of my unofficial aim for a year. I'm not going to do it this year. I'm going to back off a little bit this year because my body is not supporting the cause. And I've got a lot more interesting things coming up this year. So yeah, drinking, definitely going to be drinking, but I'm not aiming for huge numbers, I don't think, this year. Anyway, this has been your loving Unclejona, drinking beers, entertaining you, all that kind of jazz. And I'll be back with another beer review and maybe an unboxing too. That's coming up real soon.